Hello everyone! Good evening! Welcome to my vlog. I am Krisha Joy V. Balansag, a first-year student of WEMSU ESU Mabuhay. So, for today's video, I am going to review a book entitled The Woman Who Had Two Navels by Nick Joaquin. So, if you want to know about it, then keep watching. So, let's go guys! So first, I will give the introduction, secondly, the summary, and then lastly, I will give my reflection about the book, The Woman Who Had Two Navels. So the main reason why I choose this novel because I am confused with the title itself, The Woman Who Had Two Navels. So the first thing that come on my mind is that how come that a person has a two navels? So that's why I am convinced and encouraged to read the novel and study about it. So that's why in this video I am going to share what I have learned and researched about this novel. It is a 1961 historical novel and it is considered as a classic in Philippine literature. It was the recipient of the first Harry Stonehill Award. It tells the story of a Filipino elite woman who is hallucinating and is preoccupied with the notion that she has two navels or belly buttons in order to be treated as an extraordinary person. This novel by Joaquin is a literary assessment of the influence of the past to the time encompassing events in the Philippines after World War II. An examination of an assortment of legacy and heritage, and the questions of how can an individual exercise free will and how to deal with the shock after experiencing epiphanic recognition. So the story started when Connie went to Pepe's place for consultation. The problem of Connie is how to remove her another navel because if ever give birth, where would the another umbilical cord be connected? Connie told Pepe the story about her childhood times. Pepe told this to Senora de Vidal, and everything that Senora de Vidal told Pepe exactly the opposite what Connie told Pepe. Something that Senora de Vidal told Pepe was that Connie only have a navel. Her navel was really two. Also the age. When Senora de Vidal said that Connie was just 18 years old and she was not just got married that day, but she was married almost a year already. Pepe know that Senora de Vidal ordinary that her father was in news and that controversies often comes when her father is in the government. Connie's mom told her not to be affected with the controversies. After that, Senora de Vidal also told Pepe that her daughter likes Paco. Pepe knows Paco because they were classmates during they are in grade school. After talking to Senora de Vidal, Pepe went to Teresa's after. They talked and Pepe discovered that Paco was in Manila. He writes a lot of letters about Connie's mother. Paco was in Manila with her band to play and sing in two different clubs. They had already signed contracts. Paco had become interested with Manila. While Senora de Vidal became interested with Hong Kong, the even talked and said they would meet often and knew each other countries. One time, Connie's mom was not around their house and Paco met Connie. Starting that time, Connie started watching Paco and his band playing for the club. Until one day, there were few people fighting and one of them got shot. Connie were there and was shocked. Paco with Connie went together to a Chinese temple. Connie told Paco that she can talk to somebody else. So Connie left him and after some weeks passed by, Paco exited the club that she was playing for and suddenly saw Connie's car in dark. They drove till they reached Paco's hotel and Paco went out of his hotel room and go away. After that happening, 2 days to be exact, Paco left Manila and alone and went back to Hong Kong. Mary, Pepe, and Paco went to the park and talked after a few hours. Mary went home ahead with her children. The two gentlemen talked about the Connie's novels. They were wondering if it's true or not. After talking about it, Pepe went home while Paco was left in the park. When we came home, he saw his father who was supposed to be in Manila. His father was very unusual that time and cannot answer most of Paco's questions. Tony, his brother, and Rita, who is engaged to, were to Paco's home because their father was there. They eat together that order. They were all thinking what happened to their father when he was still in Manila. He wasn't able to answer their questions and he went to Hong Kong earlier than what is expected. The only dish he saw in the room was the dirty run that was full of dust. Pepe gave up of figuring out things and went away. So, next, Rita asked Pepe to dance with her, but Pepe told him not because he was too full for dance. Pepe asked someone who was sitting across them and a while ago and said it was Vidal. After talking, Pepe asked permission to Rita if she can go to the balcony. Pepe went to the balcony to talk with Connie Escobar. So Pepe went back to Rita and told them to go home first because he is going to talk to someone. So Connie Escobar drive Pepe very fast, but Pepe said stop and went away. But after a minute passed by, Pepe went back to the car and then Connie told Pepe stories at last. They arrived at the hotel. Connie kissed Pepe on his cheeks and go to her room. But Connie went back to Pepe and asked him to bring her to another place. Pepe asked her why and she said because his husband is up there. Pepe told her, why would you get worried? Connie told him that Masho has other girls. The worst thing is that it was her own mother, Concha de Vidal, was the girl of his husband. So Pepe helped her and brought her to his wife's place. Connie asked Pepe to Masho that she was sick, so don't let go to there. Pepe told to Masho. Masho asked Pepe if Connie is alright and asked him if he is a doctor. Pepe told them he is not a doctor, so Masho asked him to get Connie one. So Masho was asking Pepe where Connie is, but Pepe didn't tell him because it was what Connie asked him to do. When Pepe was to leave Masho's room, Masho stopped him and told the story of how Connie got married. Masho became emotional while the story was ongoing. So Masho's father was struck and after a few days, Masho's father died. So Masho was to take care of her business and their haciendas. As Pepe went home just daylight before Rita awoke, Rita didn't saw Connie in the sofa. The next chapter started with it was in New York and Hong Kong. Paco and his band performed in Tavarish. Everybody was there having a lot of fun. In the convent of St. Andrew, Father Tony was planning to teach novice different languages, but he had a visitor. It was Senora de Vidal. She told Father Tony that Connie was starting to invent stories. She knows that Connie hated her because she asked Father Tony to convince her to go back to his husband, Masho. After hearing the story, Father Tony was confused and felt very uncomfortable. After that, Father Tony went to the club to talk to Pepe, Rita, Paco, and Mary. He told them everything that Senora de Vidal told him that Paco hated them more. Later that night, Concha remembered when she first met his husband Esteban Borromeo. A handsome boy, a good painter, and an activist she fell in love with, and she was married. After Esteban died, she met and married her latest husband, Mr. Vidal. That night, Concha asked Father Tony to go to her car. They talk everything about Concha's past and about Connie. Then Tony and Pepe went home and they saw Connie standing in front of their door. They tried to talk with her, to forgive whatever her mother did to her, and tried to start a new life and told her she only have one navel and it was just her imagination. Then Connie started to tease her father Tony and Pepe to look if she really has two navels. The next chapter is about what happened to the Connie's life, how she went to destroy her husband Marcius and cannot forgive him, how she sees the world as an evil world, trying to live in a make-believe world. Connie can't accept the real world. While Connie was in the top of the peak, she recalled everything that happened and felt hated that inside her heart. Her mother and his father. She remembered the times when she always says that her father and mother are bad and not her. She felt sore but still cannot accept the truth. After a while, she went to the monastery. When she was in the monastery and got inside, she wanted to talk to Father Tony, but it was an older father who approached her. They had confrontation about what Connie really felt. The father showed her that she was bad, but whatever the father told her, she always believed that she is not bad. So, that's how the novel ends. The woman who had two navels. The conflict between reality and fantasy is a central theme in The Woman Who Had Two Navels. When Connie tells Pepe at the beginning of the novel that she has two navels and Pepe believes her, Joaquin signals to the readers that the story blends the incredible and the fantastical with destabilizing consequences. So how does Connie develop her illusion about having two navels? So it is when she is 14 years old and have to evacuate because of the war in Manila, and then after the war her family is returned to their home, which is ruined, but then she found Bikini in the orchard and was horrified seeing Bikini having two black holes at her stomach and making it look like two navels. So that's how Connie started being hallucinating about having two navels. Much of The Woman Who Had Two Navels is concerned with people, concepts, and memories being transmitted between cultures. As member of the Filipino diaspora, characters like Pepe, his father Paco, Tony, Rita, and Mary represent people who exist between cultures. Along with Pepe's fathers comes memories of the homeland that he shares with his sons, transmitting his values and fantasies to the next generation. The theme of transmission between cultures also arises when the narrator comments on Paco's lifelong habit of listening to Manila's jazz on a short-wave radio. The jazz itself, an intercultural interpretation of Black American music, is transmitted across the sea, separating Hong Kong from Manila. Paco receives the music, he interpreting it himself until he has mastered a music style originating in a country he has never been to. The theme returns when Pepe compares his father and Paco's disturbing visits to Manila with Alice having gone through a mirror into another world where regular logic is reversed, or shall we say, an illusion to Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. Having gone through the mirror to the other world, the men have come back significantly altered by their disorienting experiences. Ultimately, the theme of transmission between worlds resonates with Joaquin's emphasis on the difficulty of defining one's identity in a post-colonial context while influences clash and contradict as they mix. Fatalism. A belief events are predetermined and therefore inevitable is a dominant theme in the Woman Who Had Two Navels. Joaquin expresses the theme most explicitly through the characters of Connie and Paco. Connie's fatalism is introduced when she discusses how she has always known she was different from other people, a difference symbolically represented by the two navels she claims to have discovered when she was a girl. The two navels mark her throughout life, though she tries to become the high society woman her mother has trained her to become. She consistently fails because she knows if anyone gets too close, they will discover her shameful secret. Paco's fatalism emerged when he meets Connie and finds himself hopelessly attracted to her. The attraction becomes an obsession, and the obsession turns to tortures. He behaves as he would never have expected himself to act, believing that he is operating in obedience to evil forces outside his own free will. At the end of the novel, Paco's fatalistic attitude is captured in the movement he tells Pepe that he will inevitably return to Connie and her mother when they call him. In this moment, he expresses that he believes they have broken his will and he is doomed to submit to people more powerful than himself. Another of the major themes in the novel is wealth disparity, the stark differences between rich and poor. From the outset of the novel, Pepe, as a man of modest economic means, is distracted by the fur and pearls Connie wears to signal her wealth. Her mother is similarly ostentatious, dressed in a fork and a silk dress emblazoned with dragons. The appearance of the woman dazzles the poorer Hong Kong residents in the book, who all live in cramped, overpriced apartments. Connie and Concha meanwhile live in a mansion in the suburbs of Manila, existing as high society women whose lives are focused on social gatherings rather than work. As a musician, Paco's cultural status gains him access to the gilded social sphere of rich women, and he finds himself hopelessly drawn in despite his distaste for the willful ignorance the rich practice when moving through a city riddled with poverty. Ultimately, Paco believes he will return to Connie and Concha, whose prestige, though unbarred in what he conceives as evil, is too alluring for him to disregard. Ruin. The disintegration of something once stable is a key theme in The Woman Who Had Two Navels, explored most explicitly in the character of Pepe's father. The theme of ruin touches Dr. Monson's life in both abstract and concrete ways. He begins adulthood as a charming and respected doctor in Manila, later fighting alongside General Aguinaldo against the Spanish and the Americans. Dr. Monson is exiled to Hong Kong, vowing not to return to the Philippines until the country is free. In the meantime, he tells his sons about what his lavish family home is like, stoking their imaginations and promising they will one day return to the place that is truthfully theirs. However, the post-independence Philippines returns is unfamiliar and alienating. The ancestral home of his memory is destroyed, with nothing but a foundation and a staircase extending to nowhere. The sight of the physical ruin crushes his hopes of returning to the homeland. The Dr. Monson goes back to Hong Kong devastated. After the emotional disturbance of realizing everything he was waited for is gone, he becomes addicted to opium and relies on his sons to look after him, like the house he is a ruin of his former self. The search for identity within a post-colonial cultural context is another dominant theme in The Woman Who Had Two Navels, revolving around characters between Manila and Hong Kong. The novel is concerned with how Filipinos define their cultural and national identity when their newly independent country has long been colonized by Spain and the United States. The two now served severed umbilical cord of Filipino history. Pipi, though ethnically Filipino, has never set foot on the land. For him, the Philippines exists as a promised land his father spoke of when Pepe was growing up. His father's illusion is shattered, however, when his father returns to Manila to find his family home in ruins and the culture nothing like what he remembers when he fought alongside General Aguinaldo. Paco grew up with no such narrative. His father told no stories about the country he had left, meaning Paco was free to form his own idea of place through the Manila jazz he listened to on shortwave radio. When Paco goes to the Philippines, having mastered an American Filipino music style despite having lived in neither country, is disturbed to discover that American culture can permeate every level of society in Manila. Rich and poor, everyone lives with the fantasy that they are wealthy American bankers and illustrious American movie stars. The men were all Pierpont Morgans, and the women a nagging, fading, breathy grabbles. By the end of the novel, none of the major characters has a stable sense of self. Their personal identities ungrounded by the history of socio-political upheaval they have lived through. So that would be all for our video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have learned something for what we have been discussing throughout the video. So that would be all, guys. Thank you.